Can you hear the bells? I think these are the bells of the Holy Sepulchre. A lot of cloud this morning, so the sunrise has been delayed. At least the sunrise not, but the visibility of the sunrise. There's the Holy Sepulchre on the right, the Dome of the Rock on the left. It's Sunday morning, so traffic is coming already. The trains are running. The first day of the week. On Shabbat, most everything stops here in Jerusalem. There's the hazy Mount of Olives with the different towers. And today we cannot see the mountains of Moab, which we saw in yesterday's sunrise stroll and chat. But the cloud is too thick to see them. And the sun is rising there in the center of the camera. We can see its effects on the top of the clouds. And here we have that dominant feature from all around, the Franciscan Tower, built about a little over 100 years ago. And then the Lutheran Tower, also 110 years ago. And here we look over towards Mount Zion. It's in the center of the screen. Let me focus in. There's the Church of the Dormition with that big tower and the dome, the oval dome. The monastery of the Dormition of Our Lady. And there it's right beside the upper room. And here in the foreground, we see in the middle ground there, you see another minaret, which is much closer to us. I think that's, let me see if I can see properly. Yeah, it should be here near the, hey, I'm stuck with that one. Closer to us, that red roof is basically the Latin Patriarchate Church, so just beyond that is the Jaffa Gate, which you can also see here with the flags, the City of David. Sorry, not the City of David, the David's Citadel. And then we have the City of David is way over there. Let me point out to you. Yeah, more or less there behind the Lutheran Tower. In that direction, down there is the City of David, down after the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And then here the sun is doing its effect on the clouds. Today we have very, very strong readings, very associated with Jerusalem and Mount Tabor. By the way, a little note about yesterday. We had a few mishaps yesterday with our media. Somebody was helping me to try and overcome the problems of sound transmission in the microphones here at Notre Dame. And apparently in the process disconnected the transmission button. And it was neither transmitted nor recorded, unfortunately, the Mass. And then Kathleen had some issues and hers was transmitted later, I understand. I didn't check this morning. It was supposed to be transmitted at 7 p.m. last night from here. I hope you were able to see it. She always does such a fantastic job on the pilgrimage. And now we're at day 12. And the sun is struggling here to burst through these clouds. In a way, that's what God was trying to do, to burst through all the clouds of human coldness, human darkness, the darkness that enveloped the human mind. And we have this extraordinary event in this pious tradition has always located here in Jerusalem of Abraham and Isaac. Abraham and Isaac. And that incredible petition that God gave to Abraham to take your son and sacrifice him. It's a very complex theme. We need to understand its setting, and we're still having chills more powerful than the cold here this morning, or the cold snap in the United States recently. We get chills every time we read that Abraham story. It's such an extraordinary event, and our pilgrimage is in the spirit of Abraham, our father in faith. His extraordinary faith in God. It's such a remarkable event in the history of our faith. Really, of all the monotheisms, how many Muslim people I know, and their name is Ibrahim, Avi, Abraham, and Abraham is quite used, especially in the Hispanic world. Don't see it here as much in English, but maybe there are times when it is Abraham Lincoln. Abraham has been used a lot, but you don't hear that. Yeah, Abe, you hear it. So the light is breaking through with the story of Abraham. God put Abraham to the test. He called to him, "Abraham, here I am." We're in Genesis chapter 22. He replied, "Here I am," he replied. Then God said, "Take your son Isaac, your only one, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. There you shall offer him up as a holocaust on a height that I will point out to you." Now, let me show you that the tradition has a place here near Jerusalem, and I will point the camera. Just take a good look at that sun, because it's changing every moment. So let's go over here slowly. Not too fast because it's zoomed in. Okay, so you see those flags, and then you see the mast, and the hill that's back there, just a little to the right of that mast. It's the home today of the United Nations headquarters, of the peacekeeping force headquarters. And right beside that place, there's a monument in 3 languages, in English and Arabic and Hebrew, saying that that is where Abraham left the servants, the place where God pointed him to go to. And from there he walked to precisely the Temple Mount at the Dome of the Rock. And actually Kathleen showed you this rock last week in the pilgrimage. We can find out which day for you, or you can just go and scroll back on the YouTube channel or on the Facebook, the Magdala Experience Magdala Facebook page, and you will find that story, and you can see that rock. So then he says, when they came to the place which God had told him, Abraham built an altar there. So that's right in front of us, here at the Dome of the Rock, right under the sun today. And the light was bursting through, the light of the one true God who created heaven and earth, and who calls Abraham to leave his land to make him a father of a great people. And Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. Then he reached out and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the Lord's messenger called to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham, here I am," he answered. "Do not lay your hand on the boy," said the messenger. "Do not do the least thing to him. I know now how devoted you are to God, since you did not withhold from me your own beloved son." As Abraham looked about, he spied a ram caught by its horns in the thicket. So he went and took the ram and offered it up as a holocaust in place of his son. Again the Lord's messenger called to Abraham from heaven and said, I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you acted as you did in not withholding from me your beloved son, I will bless you abundantly and make your descendants as countless as the stars of the sky and the sands of the seashore. Your descendants shall take possession of the gates of their enemies, and in your descendants all the nations of the earth shall find blessing. All this because you obeyed my command. This is an extraordinary moment. It has incredible resonance. Imagine almost 4,000 years ago, and this event is remembered here. At the rock, under the dome, present-day Dome of the Rock, where it is understood that the temple was built also. Here in Jerusalem. And a light came into humanity. It would be too much to go into this morning, but the effect of monotheism has been such a civilizing force for humanity. And it's very interesting how it's deeply connected, even though even the Israelites themselves struggled with it for centuries. And today we're struggling again with the respect for human life. Made in the image and likeness of God, it's very hard to separate the human being from God. And when that happens, or when the human beings try to take God out of the picture, it's another way of separating us, then it's a little bit chaotic for the human being. It's the law of the jungle. The strongest survive, the others are eliminated or left behind. And we struggle with this all the time in human history. The principle of monotheism, even from a practical point of view, was a huge struggle in the time of the kings here in Jerusalem. A huge struggle. In fact, pious Jewish tradition, as I have heard, says that it was directly connected, the exile to Babylon, with child sacrifice here in Jerusalem, in the valley of Gehenna. And the Gehenna Valley actually surrounds Jerusalem. If we come back here to Mount Zion, present-day Mount Zion, because Mount Zion was actually originally the temple place, and this was then, we won't go into that right now, we'll get off theme. But if we look right behind Mount Zion, along here to the south, and then around to the west, in fact, just this side of the King David Hotel here, the King Solomon Hotel, the cement one, and the King David Hotel, the YMCA Tower, the valley in between us and there, where you see the trees, that valley is the Gehenna Valley. And you can even trace it back here in this direction. Actually, you can see the chief rabbinate of Israel right beside the tree there with the dome in the distance. That's the chief rabbinate of Israel. And then you have, that looks like it's named Leonardo Hotel, but this side of there is the Gehenna Valley, and it goes all around here. And there are steep rock cliffs. Actually, Kathleen also showed you that. Visited there in the pilgrimage last week. And this was the place where the human sacrifice was carried out. It's in Jeremiah 19:29. It's in Isaiah 57. It's in Psalm 106. It's a powerful, powerful association with the exile. Here we have the bells ringing again from the Franciscan Tower this time. The earlier ones we heard now this morning were from the Holy Sepulchre. Ringing 6:30 in the morning. It's nice to see Jerusalem in this light. And so this event of Abraham is foundational. And we go to the second reading you have in the link today, and St. Paul is saying, and God did not spare his only son. It's clearly, directly related to sparing Abraham's son. God said, I will provide the sacrifice for the redemption of humanity. It will be done with human flesh. Jesus born of a woman. And the location for that is even closer to us. It's right here in Calvary, right behind the big dome in the center of the screen there. And not under the dome with the big cross. That's on top of the Orthodox Church, the big main body of the basilica. But behind the dome we have the location of Calvary, where he shed his blood for us, where the Father sacrificed his Son. It's a big mystery. All the religions around here were sacrificing their children. So in that sense, it was part of the culture. And God wanted to break that culture. That was complete darkness. God never wanted us to be sacrificing our children. Let the little children come to me. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The gift of life. God created each one in his own image and likeness. It's really amazing, and it's still the struggle of humanity today. Sometimes in the guise of compassion, one is eliminated. In compassion for the mother. And the mother needs so much support, so much help. And sometimes is left very, very unprotected and very much in need. But also, the person is often eliminated just out of a false compassion to them because they don't have enough. I was reading an extraordinary story that somebody shared with me yesterday, at our retreat, of a couple in England who had a child that was diagnosed with spina bifida and absolutely almost hardly any brain tissue in the womb. And they refused so many times to have an abortion. So many times. That means the doctors kept coming back and said, this child has no value. This child is a bit of trash. This child is too much. You don't want to take that on. And now that child is so happy. And the doctors cannot explain how it recovered already 80% of its brain, of his brain, his little boy. 80%, and it's because of the parents' love and the way they have nursed and nurtured this baby. And they're hoping that he will be able to walk eventually. He's like 8 years old now, or 9 years old. An extraordinary story. Our society is going through a tremendous struggle. And this is deeply connected with our faith in the living God. Deeply connected. So then we go to the Gospel today, and the Gospel today is located in Mount Tabor. And it's the Transfiguration. This is my beloved Son, listen to him. And Jesus appears with Moses and Elijah right on top of Mount Tabor. And it's particularly a gift that was given to Peter, James, and John. It's interesting how God approaches the salvation of humanity through concrete individuals who are charged with a blessing for others. And that was the case of Abraham, and that was the case of Moses, and that was the case of Joseph, that was the case of David. That was the case of each prophet. That's the case of each vocation today. Each person, each nurse that's called to nurse patients, what amount of love she or he can give to patients on their bed, on their sick bed, on their deathbed. What amount of love a doctor can give, a teacher can give. And then especially somebody that's bringing the good news with all their heart and all their soul and their whole life, consecrated to God. The missionaries, the priests, the ministers of faith, those who love Jesus, those who bring this word to them. God chooses one to be a blessing for many others. And he chooses each one of us. We have a specific role of blessing for others. In that sense, it's not good for us to be alone. We're actually not alone, but we think we are. We are deeply connected with others, thoroughly connected, invariably connected, powerfully connected to All of humanity, each one of us, called to be a blessing. And just like that, those words of Genesis, that all the nations of the world would be blessed through Abraham, all the nations of the world can be blessed through you, through your prayer, your honest prayer today. When we're finished, or even right now in your heart, offer up to God a prayer for the salvation of the world, for all the prisoners, for all the migrants, for all the people who are oppressed and trafficked, for all the people who are very blessed in their palaces and making tons and tons of money, and they're so engrossed in themselves. Or maybe some of them are very generous and very, very given to others, and they see their reality as a talent. Your prayers can be such a blessing. Pray for the scientists. Pray for those who are studying how to heal the diseases. You are deeply connected to the world. You are not alone. Even if you're 87 years old, 94 years old, and you're lying in bed and you have pain, you can't open your eyes to see this live stream. Your ears are not working very well, and you don't remember anybody anymore. Your life is still a tremendous blessing. A Down syndrome child can be a tremendous blessing. This little boy in England who's 8 years old is a tremendous blessing. He has touched my heart. Now he has touched your hearts. And God looks down on Jesus and said, on Peter, James and John, and said, listen to my son, this is my beloved son. God loved the world so much he gave his only son for our salvation. And how he saved us, and how he taught us about so many things, about silent work in Nazareth, about being among the excluded, no place for him to be born, about forgiving our enemies, about being compassionate like a good Samaritan. What this light that came into the world, the love of life, regaining our footing to sacrifice ourselves for the blessing of others. It's such a joy to have you all here this morning. The psalm today is so beautiful. It's Psalm 116. I will walk before the Lord in the land of the living. Let's stroll around Jerusalem here a little bit. I need to walk a little, get the blood circulating. So let's look around Jerusalem. I'll be heading back, God willing, to Galilee this morning. So maybe around Holy Week we'll be back, God willing. We have to make our final plans. Here you see the train, the people are going to work. Jerusalem is coming alive at 6:30 in the morning, or just turned. Traffic is increasing. It's the first day of the week. You know, Jesus rose on a work day, the first day of the week, the first day of the new creation. Here we are at Notre Dame. Many of you came and stayed here. The big auditorium where we had huge interreligious meetings with the chief rabbi, with Muslim leaders, Christian leaders. And City Hall is right there behind the towers, you can see it. And then all these new buildings coming up in Jerusalem. The YMCA Tower, the King David Hotel, the King Solomon Hotel, and here the brothers, the De La Salle brothers, doing so much educating children. Let the children come to me. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What incredible revolution that came from these words of Jesus into the care for children, into the love of children. People, it's been such a joy to be with you here this morning. Blessings for all those who have birthdays. I just saw a birthday greeting on the screen there. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, whoever you are. Happy birthday to you. So people, God bless you. It's been a delight. Have a blessed Sunday and a wonderful blessed week. As I said here, Shavua Tov, blessed week, once Shabbat is over. And the glory we see here is only a shadow of the glory we will see in the full revelation of glory. This is my beloved Son. Listen to him. God bless you, people. Saying goodbye here from Jerusalem. It's a little chilly here. I had a bit of a head cold yesterday, so I'm taking care. Hope to see you in Galilee tomorrow morning, God willing.